All right, now I would like to invite Jack up from the Ruth Ellis Center. Let's give him a big hand, and you're allowed to sit down now if you want to stand again, that's cool too.
Herself, and then also about Ruth Ellis herself, because she's an amazing woman with a great story. Each year in the United States, 1.7 million young people will be homeless. Out of those, 40%, or up to 680,000, will self-identify as being LGBTQ. So that's the equivalent of basically metropolitan Memphis, Tennessee homeless all at once, to give you an idea of the magnitude. That also means that young people from our community are overrepresented 5 to 8 times in the homeless population than they are in the general population. So it's an incredible epidemic, and the need is great, but unfortunately the resources are very few. There's the Ruth Ellis Center in Highland Park in Detroit, and the only other comparable centers to us are in New York City, the Ali Forney Center and Sylvia's Place. We provide at Ruth Ellis Center 2 very fundamental programs. One is a residential program for young people ages 12 to 21. It is, for the younger people, an alternative to foster care. For the older young people, it's a chance to either get a start towards an independent life or recovering from what was supposed to be an independent life but may have had a setback. We also have a drop-in center where we provide a hot meal every day. We have showers, clothing, so many of the clothes that you donate tonight will be put in the clothing closet there. And we have support groups for young people as well. To give you an idea of the amount of young people we serve, in 2008 and 2009, we had 21,000 duplicated contacts with youth. So 21,000, sometimes the same young person, sometimes different young people, walked through the front door to the drop-in center. It's estimated that at any given night in the Detroit metropolitan area, there are 800 LGBT young who are homeless and out on the streets. So we provide a very vital service, and we do that with the help of a lot of people like you. And then I just want to speak for a moment about Ruth Ellis herself. The center's named after Ruth Ellis. She was born in 1899 in Springfield, Illinois. She survived the 1907 riot in Springfield, which led to the foundation of the NAACP. She moved to Detroit in 1938, established herself as a printer on Oakland Avenue in the North End community. In the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and 60s, the gay community in Detroit was just as segregated as the straight community. So African Americans and LGBT folk of color could not go to a lot of the clubs. Ruth and Babe opened up their house as a safe space for LGBT people of color during that time. Ruth never made more than $10,000 in any given year, and she gave most of that away to take care of people while she was doing it. Ruth lived to be 100 years old. She was discovered in her 60s by a group of young feminist and lesbian women and adopted as the gay grandmother, gay great aunt that they never had. So in what was really her third life, she was a great presence at the Michigan Women's Festival. She had her own tent, which was amazing. She was a champion bowler. She traveled, but she was also a fierce advocate for LGBT rights, and we honor her legacy. Since she outlived all of her biological family, we honor her legacy by taking care of the youth. Ruth came out to her father in 1914. So, almost 100 years ago. She didn't know the term lesbian. She called herself a woman lover. She wouldn't use the term lesbian actually until she was in her 70s. She said in some ways her father was a little bit taken aback, but also he had the comfort of realizing that she'd never bring a baby home. So that was an easy way for him to deal with it. No, quite literally, it's amazing that somebody would have the courage to be a woman of color in very working class environment in the middle of Illinois, to know what her identity was at that time. And so she was inducted in the Michigan Women's Hall of Fame this year, 10 years after her death. And it's really great. So I want to thank you all for showing up tonight, for supporting the center, but also urge you, now that you know a little bit more about the facts and figures, to make sure that you let people know that youth homelessness exists and that it impacts our community in severe numbers. So thank you very much.